Do you always have to invert and multiply when dividing fractions? Well, the short answer to this question is no, you don't always have to invert and multiply, but it depends on the fractions that you have to divide. Let's start by looking at division of whole numbers. Let's take the problem 12 divided by 3. That's asking how many groups of 3 are in the number 12. And we know that there are 4 groups of 3 in the number 12, because 4 times 3 equals 12. Now every whole number can be written as a fraction. So let's rewrite this problem using the fraction form of 12 and the fraction form of 3. Now the problem becomes 12 over 1 divided by 3 over 1. In this example, the first numerator is a multiple of the second numerator, and the first denominator is a multiple of the second denominator. So we can just divide directly. We get 12 divided by 3 equals 4, and 1 divided by 1 equals 1. And 4 divided by 1 is simply 4. Let's try this with another kind of fraction. The problem is 8/15 divided by 2/3. So this is asking how many 2/3 are in the fraction 8/15. Well, 8 is a multiple of 2, and 15 is a multiple of 3. So we can just divide directly. 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 15 divided by 3 is 5. So the answer is 4/5. And because 4/5 is not quite a whole, that means we can't fit an entire 2/3 part into a part that's 8/15, because 2/3 is bigger than 8/15. So our answer makes sense. Let's try another example. This time we'll divide 2/3 by 3/5. This time we want to know how many 3/5 are in the fraction 2/3. Well, 2 is not a multiple of 3, and 3 is not a multiple of 5. So I can't divide directly like I did in this example. Let's see what happens if I find a common denominator and change each fraction into an equivalent one with the new common denominator. Well, a common denominator for 3 and 5 would be 15. So we're going to change 2/3 into 10/15, and 3/5 will become 9/15. Well, this is a little better. I can divide the denominators, but 10 is not a multiple of 9. But let's go ahead and do it anyway. We get 15 divided by 15 is just 1. 10 divided by 9 is going to give me a fraction. So let's just write it as 10/9. So now this is saying 10/9 divided by 1. And that's simply 10/9. And that's 1 1/9. Well, that was a lot of steps, and you probably wouldn't want to do that every time you have to divide fractions. So when you have a problem to solve like this one, that you can't divide directly like we could in this example, it's best to invert and multiply. So let's see how that would work. The problem is 2/3 divided by 3/5. And that's the same as 2/3 times 5/3. And now we can just multiply the numerators. 2 times 5 is 10. And multiply the denominators. 3 times 3 is 9. And we get 10/9, which is 1 1/9. And that's exactly what we had gotten using the other method. So, you don't always have to invert and multiply when dividing fractions. It all depends on the fractions that you're given to divide. If it's a simple problem like this one, you may as well just go ahead and divide directly. If the problem's a little more complicated like this one, it's best to invert and multiply.